you're new around here, then hi, nice to meet you, and if you're returning, then thank you very, very fucking much for coming back. My name is Alana and I'm a 30-something lady who lives in Scotland, and that is where my accent's from. And just so you fucking know, I do like to swear. It just kind of rolls off the tongue when you're in Scotland. You can't help it. But this year, you will already have seen my wee cheesy as fuck intro. Believe me, I know. It might have already made you click off. But this is going to be the 90s grunge, let me put a choker on, look, kind of look, but using only Charlotte Tilbury. So it is Charlotte Tilbury, but not as you know her. So even my hair, look at my hair, what I've done to it today. I waved it instead of curled it, and I thought, oh, I am living my 10 to 15-year-old life right now. I love it. I think that I look like a badass. Needless to say, I do not go out like this every day anymore. But if I was going on a night out, if I was going to the club, not going to the club anymore because I'm too old for it, but if and when clubs open again and I do go to any rock clubs again or a gig, I would absolutely wear this. I would absolutely quite happily wear this. I would have no qualms about it. I just don't wear these looks every day in my life anymore. I've got much more versatile types of trends and shades, and that's not the words I'm looking for. Much more versatile kind of tastes. Like I just go for lots of different things. So this is one little pocket of my personality, which I kind of fucking love. But if you would like to see how to create this kind of grungy, smoky 90s vibe, then just keep on watching. See for your fringe if you've got waves. Why the fuck do you do it? That's the question. There we go. Also, I've got a little friend actually sitting on the chair with me today. I don't know if you'll see. Wait, and I'll try and show you. Can you see this baby? Can you see her? She's just like, I'm sitting with you today. That's it. So, I had a little look through some images. Yeah, you get 90s grunge. The thing that's bothering me about 90s grunge at the moment, or 90s trends at the moment, for a lot of young people is they are not 90s trends as I remember them. Betsy actually on Makeup Magpies a couple of weeks ago, depends when this goes up, but the last one they done was talking about the fact that, you know, the new BH palettes, I think it is, we'll do a stunning shite, or should I pass after this? I'll film that right after this. But they were talking about them, and because there was like this 90s palette, an 80s palette, a 90s palette, and a 2000s palette, like 00 palette. And how the 90s palette didn't look anything like it should be for the 90s, but it did look very Saved by the Bell, like cliche 90s pop, I suppose. And I remember obviously like Britney was very late 90s, going into the 2000s. Britney was very much about, and I think people get that mixed up quite a lot, that crossover mixed up. And grunge was definitely a 90s thing, but it wasn't the only thing that was there. Really, grunge 90s I feel was a little bit more early 90s, and late 90s was going into your Britney and maybe that famous picture of Reese Witherspoon, and she's got like the little butterfly clips in and, you know, blue frosty eyeshadow. I feel like that is very two different things, even though they happen in the same era. It's very difficult to pinpoint it. But I am specifically going for a very certain look, and it was one that I remember well, and it was Fairuza Balk in The Craft. Now, I must have been 9 or 10 when The Craft came out, kind of in just before you go to high school here in the UK, okay? And Nancy's character in The Craft, Fairuza Balk, she was just everything you kind of fucking wanted to be. She was cool, she was a bit goth, and that spoke to me volumes, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna put some photos of Nancy's character here, specifically like, there was a few things, right? She's got a dark lip pretty much every time. She does have skinny brows, which we're gonna change up today because I am not by any means gonna be shaving my brows, or I am not gonna, like some people stick them down and then go with it. We're not going into all that, I can't be arsed. They're doing wearable, right? And then she had like this look that was also like, she looks a bit nuts in some of them, like when she starts to lose her mind a bit and it's a bit scary. But there was one look where she's wearing, is it like a white shirt? I remember she's walking through the playground. She's walking through the high school and she's wearing like glasses and she's blowing kisses to people. If I can find that shot, I'm going to put it in here. And yeah, she probably has a little bit more of a red brown on, but But that's kind of the look I'm going to be going for today. I'm going to try my fucking best. I'm going to make it grunge. I may add a little sparkle just to spice it up a bit because it is Charlotte. But that's kind of the look I am going for today. We will try. So let me tell you what I've got on as base. So this I did put on this morning before I went out. It's the Isntree Hyaluronic Acid Watery Sun Gel. I am really enjoying this. It's so, so nice. Do you know the main thing that I'm really enjoying about this is there's no pilling. None at all. I find with most other sunscreens that can happen from time to time. It doesn't always happen with me, but I feel like there are certain sunscreens that do cause that, and this one doesn't, which is a very nice surprise. And just before I came to film this, I put on the Neutrogena Hydro Boost, and this is the gel cream. Right, so we're going to start off with Flawless Filter. I bought it in the right shade. I've said before when I've done my first impressions of Charlotte, I picked this up. I did pick up in a mini and I got fair 3, but I went with light 2 for the full size because this is just ever so slightly yellow on me. So I'm going to put this on. Also, I don't know if you're going to see this little dark mark here when I was waving my hair this morning. What did I do? Fucking burnt my head, didn't I? So I'm going to have a nice wee mark there now. Need to add some extra concealer to those areas. Now, as I've said before, with that 90s look, it probably would be a little bit more heavy coverage, probably a little bit of like a more pale matte look, I would say. So we're definitely taking this into the more modern side of things because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like matte. You know that already. I'm sure if you've been here for any length of time. But I think we have to try and do this like it's Charlotte, but not as you know her. But we need to bring it a little modern as well. I think that's the thing. See, with a lot of like 90s trends just now as well, they're doing these looks and I'm like, that was not nice. Like, why do people want to take it back there? Do it with a bit of a modern twist. That's what I would say. There we go. So that just gives me a nice sheen to my skin. It's not really giving me too much coverage. But what we're going to use for a bit of coverage is this here, which is the Magic Away Concealer. I've got like a selection of shades. So I'm going to try probably a mixture of the fair 2 and maybe the fair 1. I will see how I go. But I think I should probably do my eyes first because it may be something that causes a bit of fallout because it's going to be quite a dark eye. So I'm going to zoom you in a bit. Alright, so I'm going to take the Camouflage, talk shite, Colour Chameleon, and I got this shade in Bronzed Garnet because I thought the palette that I have already, the Fire Rose palette, sorry I just dropped that, which is these colours here. And I wanted to be able to make a relatively dark grungy eye, so it's going to mainly be this one. So I thought if I got the Bronzed Garnet, that's probably going to work quite well. So this is obviously like one of these pencils that has a nice shimmer to it, but also will be quite nice to like mess out and muss out a little bit. I do have the Eyes to Mesmerise pot in Sunset Rose as well. I might add a little bit that in the centre and the other one round about because I do want it to be a little bit of a halo effect eye, but still grungy. Alright, so I'm just going to start by adding this kind of to the lash line, but also in the corners here. I think that's how I'm going to go. And I am going to take it in here too because I want to make it a halo eye and I do want it to be kind of dark and grungy. So why not just take it right the way in? We can change it up slightly if I'm not liking it, but this is where I'm gonna start. And I'm taking my Lara Faye E07. This is the one that I've bought several of now because I just think it's absolutely stunning. It's great for like pushing stuff onto the lid, but also for buffing out on the sides here. So just gonna start kind of mushing that, make it look a little dirty and grungy. Now I don't think this is the kind of pencil that's supposed to be like once it's on it stays put, so it should move about a wee bit. So what I will say is I feel like it's kept a little bit of the shimmer there, but not quite as much as I'd hoped for. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I feel like it's kind of blurs out a lot at the edges, but it's kind of stuck around on the lash line a bit more. I kind of want that pretty tired look. Like I want it to look like I'm tired and a bit dirty, I was going to say. But I don't actually want to look tired. I just want to look like it's pretty tired, I know. I'm going to go on the other side and do the same on that side before we start thinking about popping some shadows on there. Now obviously this isn't the finished look, but what I'm going to say is I'm not overly blown away by this pencil. I mean, it's okay. but it's definitely not as nice as those crayon type things that I normally like for this kind of look, or for just a one and done look. It's just, it's alright. I don't really know how else to say it. It's okay. It's okay. If I'd done it all over the lid, maybe I would feel a bit different, but as it stands at the moment, I'm kind of like, don't know if I would run to buy another one of them in a different colour. I'm going to go in with the Eyes to Mesmerise pot now on a smaller brush, but just kind of pop that in the middle. Again, I think these are okay for that kind of one and done or for a bit of a base, but these were something that I wasn't overly like, wow, I expected it was going to be super duper on the eyes and you would be like, oh my god, it's pure shimmer, but they're not like that at all. It's more like just a nice, it's that Charlotte look, I suppose, that just slightly glam, little bit of something there at a hint, but not obvious. So you can kind of see that on the middle of the lids there. Okay, so now that I've placed down my kind of base where I want some shades to be, I'm going to go in with that kind of more dark colour, this one here. Now I'm going to use the E07 again because I feel it is good for blurring and placing, but I am going to build this up quite slowly. I'm not going to just jump in and place it all on. I'm just going to start bringing it in on the corners here and then start working it out rather than packing too much on, because a lot of the time, especially with looks like this, less is more. Build up your colour. Don't just go in straight away and then you'll not be able to take it away. You're better to build up things like this. So that is using the same, like I've just dipped it in once. I've not really, as I say, went crazy and went really dark too quickly, and it's blurred out quite nicely, but I'm going to just continue to build that up because I do want it to be quite dark and smoky. So I'm going to put some more on this corner again and in here again. I actually think the bronze garnet the bronze garnet underneath it is very, very nice because it's that kind of sheen underneath the rose colour, the red colour. Now at the moment I think this is looking really blown out, but it's looking disjointed because I don't have anything underneath. So I'm going to take that Colour Chameleon underneath the eye again, and I'm going to be liberal with it. I'm going to really take it quite a lot underneath, because in the 90s, although we like doing this highlighted inner corner now, we didn't really do that. It was in the waterline, it was in the tight line, it was everywhere. Everywhere was dark, super duper dark. Actually, I found as I got older quite quickly, because I did do it in my teens, especially with being a bit of a goth, but I found quite quickly that that look on my eye is very unflattering. It almost like closes my eye. So I like these bits here usually to be open, but if you're going for that kind of really smoked out and grungy look, then yeah, like take it there, give it all the heaviness and all the darkness. Why not, if that's what you're going for? But I would do that with like a nice lavender shimmer eyeshadow and then like black. Like that's how you used it. Well, not everybody, I'm sure, but that's certainly how I used to do it. Okay, and using the same brush, this is the Lara Faye E02, it's like the wee stubby one. Using that same brush, I'm going to take some of that powder shadow and again just run it right under. Get it really smoked out under there. And there we go. So that is basically just one colour of shadow. So I'm going to go on and do the same on the other eye. Alright, so that's it on the other side there. So it's very smoked out, very dark. I actually feel like, see, New Life, the inner corners aren't quite dark enough, so I'm going to darken it up a little bit. But I think it looks quite good as far as I'm concerned for it to be Charlotte Tilbury. It certainly isn't Hollywood Flawless Filter Starlet. Oh, can I just say as well, see fucking, oh my god, all these Charlotte Tilbury adverts recently, is it just me? They are cheesy as fuck. Like, when did she get to be such an absolute cheeseball? I don't remember her being this cheesy before. Especially like the lead up to Christmas, all I was fucking hearing was Hollywood Flawless Filter. That one, oh my god, like seriously, women, please shut up. And then there was some stupid song for the Happy Kiss one, and at the moment, what is it they're flogging at the moment? I can't even remember. Oh, it's the brow stuff. I've actually picked that up for this video. The brow stuff, oh my god, do you want my supermodel brows? No, Charlotte, I just want you to stop singing these stupid fucking songs. There we go. So that's smoky, it's dark, it's sultry. So as I said, in the 90s, we would be topping that off with some super duper black liner. So I am going to do that. Now I did think I could have used maybe this one here somewhere, but I don't want it. I want to keep it relatively matte. There's the shimmer underneath, and I may top it at the end with some of this one, just to make it a little bit more grunge but glam, you know. But I think I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to make it look like a Charlotte look at the moment, but I am going to add black liner because abso-fucking-lutely we would have that. I'm going to try and not poke my fucking eye out while doing it, but I'm going to tight line and I'm going to waterline and we're going to take it right in. Ooh, isn't that sexy? You can actually see the difference on both eyes, how much that closes my eye, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to pull a little bit, you know that way if you put black liner on, it almost like just touches the brush and you can pull it down. I'm going to just pull that slightly down into that lower lash line. So it just smokes it out a little more, and I am tempted to put some on the top as well. Bear with me, I'll see how I feel about that. Yeah, I think I'm going to add just a really small trace of that to the top as well, because as I said, absolutely would have done that in the 90s. One minute I'm saying let's modernise it, and the next I'm like, yeah, let's make all the worst choices that I made in the late 90s. By the time the year 2000 hit, I was 13. I'd have been 13, it would have been the millennium in the December and I'd have been 13 in the January, so I was prime age to be angsty and annoyed. I actually remember my 13th birthday, I woke up and I put on Travis, the Man Who, Travis aren't particularly angsty, but I put on Travis, the Man Who, and before I was going to school in the morning, and my mum was just like, is this you listening to distressing music now because you're a teenager? I was like, that's up. Like, I was pure raging that she'd even said it to me. Now, as I said, I'm going to try this, what's it called? Magic Away Liquid Concealer. I'm going to try number 2 first because I don't want to go too white straight away, just in case. So that actually looks like it might be not a bad match. This could go horrifically because I don't know what the texture of this is like or anything, but we're going to see. And I'm just going to make sure, I want to have relatively flawless and matte-like skin, because again, I think that was kind of a bit more what was going on then. But the thing is, I think as well, like when I was young, my mum would never have let me wear foundation or anything like that to high school. It would never have happened. Maybe a disco or something. A disco. You know, it makes me sound so old, but that's what it was called. A school disco, a school dance, whatever you want to call it. She'd have maybe let me wear something, but even at that, it would have been a shot of hers. Like, I never got to wear foundation. And in a way, I'm glad that she kind of stuck to her guns on that and was like, no, you're not meaning that. You've got lovely skin. You don't need to do it. I'm glad she done that because it gave me confidence in my own skin, but also it just made me feel like it was something in my routine I didn't necessarily always need to have, which is quite nice. I probably would have felt different if I had been a teenager growing up with troublesome skin. If I'd grown up and I had really problematic acne and stuff, then maybe it would have been handled differently. But I just remember it that like my mum was always very much like, yeah, you can wear a bit of lippy, especially by the time I got to being a goth. I had so much eyeshadow on, so much black eyeliner. Like, it wasn't that wearing makeup was the problem. She just didn't really feel the need for me to have that much makeup on to go to school or anything. Like, school was very much where you go to learn. You don't need to be cating yourself to try and impress boys or anything like that. That was pretty much the chat that I got. But needless to say, there wasn't very many boys that were all that impressed with me anyway, so I wasn't really that fussed about it. Okay, so I'm gonna say that concealer is actually quite nice. I wasn't sure if I would like it or not. It's maybe a little heavier than I'm used to, and it's a little bit, I feel like it's sticking. I've got a wee bit of dry skin in this area here and it's sticking to that a little. But what I am going to say is that it's not horrific. It's not the worst concealer I've ever used in the world, and it's still got a really nice luminous. Can you see here how it's kind of luminous still in the area where I've put it? it's still nice and shiny, which is nice. I didn't really expect to like that as much as I have. I'm just going to take the excess on some areas where I've got a bit of darkness and this big bit where I've burnt my bloody head. So just to cover this area where I've burnt my head, because I'm an absolute dooley. A wee bit of pigmentation there that I've got, and the pigmentation that I've got around here. I think though as well, I'm applying this with a nice kind of fluffy brush. It's going on nicely, I quite like it, and actually it still has a lot of radiance to it. I was hoping when I was putting this on it was going to mattify things ever so slightly, but it's not. Just for the look, I mean, I would like this in day to day, but also this obviously normally comes in one of those funny sponge applicators, doesn't it? So I'm not entirely sure what it would be like if you were putting it on with that, but with a brush certainly I think it's nicer than I expected it to be. Okay, the other thing I'm going to say is as well, if you are matching this to the same shade as this, then number 2 worked for me. That I'm 2 in this and I've got 2 in the concealer on at the moment, and I think that that works quite well, so I'm pleased with that. I'm wondering, I'll maybe do my brows now because I've got you zoomed in still, and mascara, and then I will zoom you out to decide what we'll do with complexion because I don't know yet. Alright, so as I said, yes, I know, 90s we would have a skinnier type of brow, absolutely. My mammy, my wee ma, she said to me when I was young, I remember it, I'll never forget it, do not touch your eyebrows, do not pluck them, leave them alone. I plucked them all when I was younger and I wish I hadn't. And in the 80s or the 70s and 80s it was like skinny brows, but don't do it because now the trend is big brows. My mum literally said that to me in the 90s. So now when I'm hearing people being like, the 90s you used to have really skinny brows, I'm like, well, was it the trend amongst just like Joe blogs? Was it actually what was in fashion? I would love to look back at some like copies of Vogue and Elle and stuff like that at the time for their beauty bits, the little beauty digest bits that were in those magazines, and see if they did say skinny brows were a thing, or if it was just a trend that was taken on by just society in general. I suppose that's what I mean when I'm saying it. Like, was it just something that happened? And I think the thing is as well, see back in the day, in the early 90s, late 80s, maybe even to mid 90s and the early 2000s, we didn't have, you know, Instagram, obviously. We didn't even really have any of that stuff at our fingertips until about 2010-ish, I want to say. So when you were seeing these things, like there would have been specific beauty trends in the UK, and America would have been very different, and you know, France would have been very different, different parts of Europe would have been very different, Australia would have been different, China, Japan, all these areas, Asia, all these places had very, very different ideas of what beauty was, whereas now we've all just kind of merged into one, and I kind of don't like that sometimes. It's nice that we can communicate all around the world. I love like the little community that I've grown on here, and that there's loads of people all over the world, but I feel for youngsters now, because there's no discovery of things quite as much as the way there was back then. So I was wondering, see these skinny brows, like where did they come from? Was it something that was put out by the likes of Vogue or Elle, or did it just happen? Like, I don't know, I really don't know. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. But that is the legendary brows. That is the brow kind of tinted brow gel, I would say. Yeah, tinted brow gel. But I've not put any pencil through mine because, as you know, mines are wild enough as they are, thanks to my mum. But I kind of thought, no, if I put pencil through them as well, it'd be crazy and it would cost me more to buy the pencil, so I just bought the gel. I think that brow gel is nice, I'm not going to lie, but I also think if you've got thick brows, it's like you could probably use just about anything and get the same look. I can't say that specifically is any better than my Glossy Boy Brow or my Elf Wow Brow. I like the little brush on that though. I don't think I showed you it there, hold on. The brush is very dainty, which is nice. It's a tiny little brush. So you can see that the Charlotte Tilbury wand, the brush is much, much smaller than the Glossier. So that being said, I do actually really like the brush on this. I think it's very nice, very precise, and I do enjoy that. But I did find the other day I took it a little too far, like I put too much through my brows and it was very difficult to get it back under control again. I tried a spoolie through them to try and make sure everything was okay, but it's just a little thicker and just helps to make them stand to attention that wee bit more, which is a good thing if you want them to stay in place all day. But if you use too much of it, it can go awry very, very quickly, so just be aware. Okay, so let's do lashes. I've got the Pillow Talk Push Up. Yeah, I was going to say Push Up Plump, but no, it's just Push Up Lashes. I am going to curl my lashes because I always would anyway. Oh, I meant to say, I'm sure if you've seen this in my Watch New April, you'll have seen this already, but the brush on this, the brush is super weird, right? So that's it side on as you pull it out. When you turn it, it goes completely flat. Can you see that? So I'm going to be really careful as I use it because I can imagine this is going to be the kind of thing that I would get in my eye and stab myself in the eye, really sore. Okay, so I'm just, see, this is the thing, like, do I start it side on or do I start it, oh god, I think I'm going to start it so it's turned up first, right? I'll just pull that through. It is a plasticky wand. I always find I run the risk of stabbing myself in the eye with this kind of a wand. Alright, so I know you won't see it against the darkness of that eyeshadow, but that is actually lovely. It's actually really, really nice. There's none there, and there, that side it's got some, that is beautiful. There, and that is the mascara on both sets of lashes now. Both sets of lashes, both sides, both eyes. There. I kind of looked at that photo of Nancy's character. She obviously doesn't have loads of blush on or anything, but I feel like I need to frame my face slightly because otherwise I do just look a bit matte and flat, and no, not matte, it's definitely still shiny, but I look a little flat. So I'm gonna just take some of the Hollywood filter, is it Hollywood filter? Never mind, Film Star, sorry, Bronze and Glow, and I'm just gonna add a bit of shape to my cheeks here because I do feel that I need it a little bit. I don't think I can go without a little bit of sculpting when I'm looking this pale. But I am not going to be doing my normal like bronze all over the face because that is definitely not the look that she has going on, and I feel like it's probably not the look that grunge had either. Grunge and heroin chic, I suppose, from like fashion, kind of crossed over a wee bit, and yeah, you want to look a little gaunt probably. So that's probably what I'm going to try and achieve, which is very difficult when you've got cheeks like mine. Yeah, I'm looking at that photo again and like she doesn't have anything on her face at all. Like I wouldn't say she's got a blush on. The only blush I've got from Charlotte Tilbury is Pillow Talk, which is really pinky and really luminous. So I'm going to be honest with you, I probably am just going to leave the blush because I don't want that, it's not going to look right. So I've just added a wee bit something sculpty to the face, and I will add it round the bottom of my jaw as well because that just helps sink things back a little for me, because I have got a lovely double chin going on down here. Now I am going to mattify the skin slightly again, and I'm going to take the airbrush, is this Flawless filter as well? I don't fucking know all the names, I can never remember. It's the powder, basically, it's the powder, right? So I'm going to take that and I'm just going to take that in these areas where there definitely would not be any glow whatsoever. It's going to definitely be matte. Anywhere where you might look like you've got living skin, make sure it doesn't look like it's alive. Just maybe look like you're in the funeral home, about to be viewed by your loving family, and you've got no shine. Look, I've still got shine here, but that's probably because I've used the Flawless filter, the airbrushy thing, I don't know, the fucking luminous one. But a lot of powder, and I do remember girls at school wearing a lot of powder when I was younger. Again, something I was not allowed to wear, but I remember girls like bringing compacts to school with powder and fucking putting it all over their face, and I was just like, looking back now, why did they need it? What the fuck? Like, I'm sure there's loads of young girls do that now, but I think people are more aware now as we get older. But back then it was like the trend was to be perfectly matte, flat, no highlighter, no nothing like that. So that's the way I'm going to keep it. But what I am going to do is put on a lovely dark lip. Now I do have both Pillow Talk, the original Pillow Talk here, and this lovely one here, which is called so 90s. Again, it's one of the Matte Revolution lipsticks, and I thought, will I do this one? Will I do Pillow Talk? So I've brought a couple of options. So this is probably the only stuff, with the exception of my black eyeliner that I put on, that isn't Charlotte Tilbury, because I thought, I don't know what lip liner is going to go with this lipstick, because it is so like that dark brown red colour. So I've brought the Vive one in Rumour, because I think that might go. Let me just swatch this on my hand first. So that's it there. It's like that ruddy brown brown red colour, and I'm just going to run, oh, I think Rumour might be an absolute shoo-in for it. So that's the lipstick there. This one is Rumour by Vive, that one is number 4, and that one is number 6 from Gloss My Heart. So actually I think Rumour is going to be the one that goes really, really well with it. And again, with Nancy's look, yeah, she's got like the really dark eyes, but it's all about the dark lips, and I'm into that. Like, I know people would say like with a dark eye you should wear a neutral lip, but I'm kind of like, fuck that, like let's go dark, let's go rock and roll. But actually, do you know what, see, before I start putting that on, let's put on Pillow Talk just to see how it would look with a neutral lip. Okay, so here it is with the original Pillow Talk. I don't hate it, I don't hate it. I have to be honest, so Pillow Talk, lovely, great, grand, great nude, but it's almost a little too greyish for me. It's not quite orangey or warm enough for my tone. It makes me look a little dead. Okay, so I've rubbed that off, but do you know what is for me? Fucking vampy dark lips. And I'm going to really accentuate that Cupid's bow as well. I don't want to draw over the top there, because I think that's a really kind of 2010 thing onwards. That kind of real Bratz doll look is a real like recent thing. Now this is not as opaque that I'd hoped for. It's actually a bit difficult to build up proper colour on. We got there eventually, but the formula of that is a bit patchy, if I'm honest with you. I kind of expected this to be that real like vampy, as soon as you put it on you can't see your lip colour. You can definitely see my pinkness coming through, and it's a little sheerer than I expected. I just thought this would be really, really dark. Can you see, can you probably see just a little pink that's coming through on my lips there? I have to say though that it is very comfortable for a matte. It's not drying at all. It's got a slight kind of smoothness and creaminess to it, which is probably why it's not quite as opaque as I'd like, but we'll go with it, we'll go with it. And now I just look like a fucking goth. Amazing. Right, I'm gonna go and stick something on, and I'll be right back with you, and we'll try and sort out this crazy hairdo. Okay, so put my choker on. This is actually my choker. I didn't actually buy it for this video. I have owned it for quite some time, but I'll choker on, feeling a bit Nancy. I could have put a white shirt on, but I thought, nah, I've already got a wee kind of band tight t-shirt on, so that's grand. But I'm feeling this. That's my Nancy look, ghoulish. She had piercing blue eyes. I don't know if you remember, hopefully you've noticed in the photos, but she had piercing blue eyes, so I feel like that would have went even better with this look. But just before we go anywhere, I'm going to amp it up and stick something a little bit sparkly on the top, because why on earth not? Alright, so I'm an absolute fudrucker because I started filming there and I wasn't actually fucking filming anything. Well done. What I was saying was, you can see now that I'm close up just how kind of patchy that is. Not absolutely impressed with that lipstick, but you know. But what I am doing is taking that gold colour from the Fire Rose palette and just placing it right up the middle of my eye here to give it that almost glossy effect, because there is nothing better than that kind of glossy black eye. Now I know I've not got black on, but you know what I mean, that kind of grungy glossy look. And I see companies like the for instance Melt Cosmetics, and they're a really grungy company. They're a really grungy indie brand. So even though they've got these real grungy looking girls and grungy looking boys doing real gothy type of, I don't want to say gothy, but you know what I mean, like that kind of grungy look, a little more alternative makeup, even though they've got that going on, it's still a little bit more modern than the picture of Nancy that I obviously showed you. And I also see that they do this like underneath quite a lot as well, so it's like those kind of tears, but it's like glittery tears, and I really like that too. So I'm gonna just do that right under here as well. See, that is just, to me, that screams grungy, even though back in the day we probably didn't do glitter as such. So there's a slightly more modern take on the 90s look. But I would say that I'm like, oh, modern. I'm like in my 30s now. I don't know what fucking modern is. But what I see the youth doing, that's kind of what I see them doing, and it looking pretty cool, and I kind of like it. And I like that they're dipping their toe in these different trends that I grew up with. But what I was going to say is that I just think they get them a little muddled sometimes. They're trying to cram in a whole decade, and there was so many trends, so many different trends. But in particular, this was one that I absolutely adored. And when I watched The Craft when I was a little girl, kind of just before I went to high school, about age 10, I wanted to be Nancy. I thought she was the coolest thing ever. I loved the fact she was a bit off her fucking head, and I loved her look. So this is my version of it. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you can see that Charlotte Tilbury doesn't need to be Hollywood flawless Charlotte. You can do anything you like with makeup. It doesn't have to be what it says on the tin. Have fun with it, and I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye.